My name is Raj Ruski, and I am with Reef Systems. We are a company based here in Cary. I've been a member of ISA for many years now, and I come just like you, attend these lectures and learn from them. I always just get something, I take away something with me. So I decided this time to share some of our experience with you guys, especially when it comes to the CMMC, such as a new feature that is introduced. And so my goal is to be more interactive. I'm not going to pay much attention to the slides. Feel free to ask me any questions you want. You can stop me anytime. I'm by no means I'm an expert on anything. I do a lot of stuff, but not expert in anything. So for CMMC, the show of hands, how many of you are doing business with the DoD, the Department of Defense? Okay, so quite a few people. And so this is how the story goes. Prior 2017, companies that are bidding for contract with DoD, they had to be very much, they have to be compliant with NIST 800-171. And and all those solicitations that come through and people are bidding for, there is a clause where is a check mark which says, yes, I am compliant with NIST 800-171. Everybody's doing it. So in 2018, and actually, yeah, the government did some kind of survey and found out that most of these companies are not compliant. They are just check marking this. And why is that important? It is important because some of these companies, they deal with high confidential information and some secret information that are used in the design of airplanes, designs of military products that our enemy is taking advantage of by stealing the information and using it. Like if you can see the B-52 for the United States, you can see an equivalent one in China. And then the Humvees, one in the United States, you see an equivalent one in China. And what they do basically, by stealing the information, they speed up their research and development, and they become as, pretty much you will have the same information as we do, the same tools, the same materials, therefore, it takes the edge of being the superpower. So the government said, as of December 31st, 2017, everyone must be compliant with NIST 800-171, which is 110 clauses. Then what they did, they said, you know what, now we're not going to trust people. We need these people to justify that are doing that. So that's what he introduced, the CMMC that came as part of clause as DFARS 252, 204, 70, 19, and 70, 20. And by those two, now the DFARS, companies will be required to show and to justify that they are compliant with NIST 800-171. Well, let me take one step back. When CMMC came out, it came up with CMMC 1.0 version. And what the CMMC AB board did, they came up, they said, okay, we're going to be compliant with NIST 800-171. However, there are other things that we need to do, that you need to be compliant with. So DoD got involved, and the PMO decided, you know what, we're not going to take anything from the CMMC AB board. We're going to make it pure CMMC, pure NIST 800-171. So now CMMC 2.0, which is only 3 levels, because the prior one was 5 levels, is 3 levels, it's only NIST 800-171, that's it. So if you are compliant with NIST 800-171, then you are compliant with the CMMC 2.0. So I think I'm ahead. So what does that mean? It means that now that for CMMC 2.0, which is not official yet, because right now there is what can be called provisional assessment going on right now, but there is no requirement right now. The only requirement right now is that every company one needs to go through through NIST 800-171 and go through all those controls and report what's called a score. Your score could be 110, that means you met all the controls. Could be 0, could be minus 180, which is true, it could be minus. It could be minus 90, that's okay, it doesn't matter. What it means that you are reporting that score to the website, which is called SPRS, SPRS. So if you report that score, you're in good hand, you're fine. Because once the CMMC becomes official, which is right now it's in the rule making, and the talk out there is that it could be official maybe as early as March 2023, but that's not sure. It depends when the DoD is going to make the decision. However, every company is required right now to report a score for CMMC 800-171. And as I said, it doesn't matter what your score. It could be 0, 110, doesn't matter. But you have to report. If not, and if you have a government contract, when it comes to the option year to renew that contract, it might not get renewed. So that's because there are a lot of companies going on right now and saying you have to be certified CMMC, you have to be, no, you don't have to, and there's no requirement. Which makes me go to, we are going with our Reef Systems, our company, is the CMMC's third-party assessment organization. What does that mean? Which means that the government, when they came up with CMMC 2.0, they found out that there are over 300,000 companies that need to be assessed. The government cannot support that. So what they said, you know what, we are going to engage the companies, civilians, to start auditing. They don't want to use the word audit, but I think audit's more, it makes more sense to the audience. We're gonna use more companies to audit on our behalf. Just like in the ISO, with the ISO, there is the ISO organization at the top, and there are the registrar. And the registrars are the ones that are going out and doing the audit, and then they report the result, and then you get certified by the ANAB or whatever it is. So to do that, the company has to go and had to meet all the 110 controls. So we were audited by the DCMA, which is the Defense Contract Management Agency. They came to our office for a week, and we went over everything, A to Z, and then A to Z. And then after that, we met all the requirements. We got certified as C3PIO. So right now, the government is having, I wouldn't say a pilot program, but they have for companies that they want to be assessed right now, even though there is no official certification, they are called provisional assessments. That means you can go get assessed, and you're gonna be assessed, and if you pass all the controls, you will be getting certification of NIST 800-171 high. What this one does when CMMC 2.0 becomes official, you'll be grandfathered. So you will not be assessed again. That's the program that's going right now. It's not a requirement. It's a voluntary program for companies that do want to be assessed and to go through this process. And if they meet the 110 controls, then when the program becomes official, they will grandfather into it. Now, I think I already went through all this stuff. So right now, for companies, one thing that CMMC 2.0 came up that it was not part of CMMC 1.0. For 1.0, it was binary. You passed all the 110 controls or you fail. So when you get assessed, the assessor will assess you on all the 110 controls. If you pass them, you are done. If you miss one of them, you fail. The 2.0, what they did say, no, there are some controls that you don't need, you can fail them, but you have to give us a period of time by which you can fix them. That's called the POEM. POEM, what do you call it? So POEM is basically a plan of action at milestone. So pretty much you're going to say, okay, I didn't pass these controls, but I'm going to pass them within, I think, 180 days. Within 180 days, I'm going to fix them, and then they can come back, and if you fix them, then you're all set. In level 1.0, in CMMC 1.0, version 1.0, that was not allowed. It's only now that is allowed. So, very much as you said here, safeguarding the information and make sure that. Now, how about if you are, as you know, in the contracting, the government contracting, there is the prime and there is a subcontractor. The prime is the one that holds the contracts, the one that bid the contract and won it. And then sometimes the prime cannot fill all the obligations in the contract. So they have to bring subcontractors that can do the job. So that's when now when CMMC becomes a requirement, even when within this 800.171, there is what's called the flow down. The flow down means that every contract, all the clauses that I have on my contract as a prime, I'm going to flow down those controls to you. So you are responsible as much as I am on that information. However, I'm still in the hook as a prime. I'm still in the hook for the government that I am the one responsible for everything. But then here there's a problem. The problem is that the prime, even though they have some COI, which is controlled unclassified information, when you have some COI, I just very much, if you are my subcontractor, I pass everything to you, even though you don't have to deal with it. There is nothing for it in you. But I'm going to pass everything to you. So now, small companies are getting hit with this one, especially the mom and pop stores that are making gadgets, maybe in Asheville or somewhere in the mountains, and they make small tanks that are used maybe as a part of a helicopter or part of an airplane. They have to go through the process too. And that's really, really tough on them financially. So there are a lot of questions on how these people can deal with this situation. And the answer is that really there is nothing. If they want to do business with the federal government, with DOD, then they have to go through that process. There are a lot of talks, but in reality, the government is given nothing except there are some states that have some grants that they offer to small businesses to go through the process. The grants will not cover everything. However, it will cover something. Like here, for instance, in North Carolina, the state of North Carolina have some grants, small grants that they help people with. But there are some other states that are much more involved and they provide more help than North Carolina. Now also, there's the issue like with the COI marking. Yeah, go ahead.
What are the best states that you've seen so far, Brett?
I think there's Georgia, there's Texas, maybe Virginia too. So there are some states that are really, they're having some money, they're giving money. Yeah, go ahead.
Are there any, how would you like to see this changed at all, or is this a problem that you just see, in order for security that they need this rigorous? Is there any way you think the federal government could change this to both accommodate the small businesses while maintaining the security?
Okay, so the federal government goal is to safeguard the information. That's their main thing.
Yeah.
How the small business is going to deal with it, at this moment, doesn't show that it's a concern from them. You can get the political answer, but the reality is that they don't care. They say, do you want to do business with us? This is the way you have to do it. What they are doing to make it easy sometimes is that for CMMC, for CMMC 2.0, for level 1, you can be self-certified. And for level 2 also, there are some categories that can be self-certified and some that can be, that have to be audited by an external organization such as our Reef systems. However, when you are doing self-certification, you are basically saying, yes, I am compliant with this. I am compliant with NIST 800-171. And what they did, the government did, they said, okay, you are certified, you're going to attest that you are certifying, we're going to need to sign on that. And this few months ago, the DOJ, Department of Justice, came up with new update on the False Claim Act. I don't know what was the coincidence, if there was some synergy between the two, but there is so they came up with the False Claim Act saying if a CEO or a company official come up and certify something that is not right, we're going to pursue that. Go ahead.
Is the certification process itself the main cost for small businesses, or some of these controls also are also prohibitive in cost for implementation in a small business environment?
It depends. If you are a small business that you don't have anything, basically, let's say that you are a shop that you are just making like a gadget, as I said before, and that gadget is critical to an airplane, for instance, or helicopter. Okay, now you need to have physical control for your unit, for your making this. If your physical, it depends how your office is or how his manufacturing is. Now, do you have to build another secure area for it? Do you have to have cameras? Do you have to have control doors to get to that area? Do you have to have is there using some IT? Do you have to have some IT security in space? Do you have to have firewall? Do you have to have policies on who is accessing that area? Policies on the HR does not have access to that office. HR does not have access to the contract accounting. Accounting does not have access to HR. You can see how the CMMC basically is becoming security, not an IT problem, but it's becoming not an IT responsibility, but it's an organization responsibility. So in the past, people will say, okay, our security is IT. No, it's not anymore. Security now, it starts from HR, from the day you hire a person, even before you hire a person, until that person is gone. So everybody is involved. So that's somebody has a question? Yeah, go ahead.
So with an audit like this, you have the 110 clauses, be CMMC level 2 certified. Give us perspective, how much of that is interviewing paperwork versus actually testing to see the system is reliable?
Okay.
Just kind of get perspective of the depth of that.
Okay. So for the 110, first of all, you're going to have policies. Policies is our documentation.
Just check the documentation.
So you have to have documentation, and you have to have procedures, processes and procedures. So like for instance, for testing, okay, you're telling me, okay, you know what? I have a firewall. I track everything that's going on. Now, how about your logs? Are you looking at the logs? If you're getting the logs from different units, like from firewall, from virus software, from intrusion detection device, how are you correlating all these logs to look at them? Are you looking at them? I'm sorry, you're going to have hundreds of logs, hundreds of thousands of logs. Do you have a SIEM that can correlate all these logs so you can look at them? What frequency do you look at them? For every clause, the 110 clauses, they are there. You have to justify either through a test, physical test, yes, or you have to show documentation that it's done. So it depends on it. So it's like, but for all of them, they have 3 ways how to show it. One of them is a testing. And the other one I think is just like a proof. You have to show that some kind of proof you are doing it. But everything will need to be looked at. Even HR, you sit down with the HR people. Say, when do you hire a person? What are the qualifications of this person? Did you do the background check on this person? And all this. Show me the documentation. Like for instance, with the background check, show me the background check that you've done. This person does this. What qualifies this person to do this work? Show me the degrees or the diploma certification this person has. Show me the training you've done for these people. So it's kind of like it's really everything is covered.
Yeah, the weakest link in any network is the people running it.
That's right. That's right.
But not all controls are applicable to every company, every customer, right? There are always exceptions to the 110 controls that
Yes,
you've got.
correct. If you are a service company, for instance, you are not doing software development.
Right.
so those are going to be non-applicable to you.
Right, okay.
So that's true. So it depends. So there are things that, for instance, if you don't have access, remote access to your office, then you don't have to justify that. So we don't do remote access to the system. Absolutely. So it depends. Okay, let me go back. Now we'll go one step back. And that's why I said let's make it more interactive, guys, because maybe you can get more from me more information. What was I going to say? Data flow. For instance, just going back to what you just said. Let's say that you are a company, and you're a company that you have 100 people in the company. And you're only small unit of your company does business with DoD, with Department of Defense. And only 5 people, you say, that use the COI, controlled unclassified information. Then that's when it comes to scoping. They say, okay, I'm going to scope this one. Only these 5 people with these 5 computers are dealing with COI. So the rest is not dealing with it. So all the other people that are out of scope, they don't need to be tested. Only that area, that enclave that you are forming, or that small segment of network that you are proposing that is using COI, that's going to be tested. The rest is out of control, out of scope. So it doesn't have to deal with it. So scoping is very important, very important. Go ahead.
The flow down requirement between primes and subs, I've seen that go incorrectly from sub to prime. What kind of relationships and trends have you seen between enforcing compliance with your partners, and what types of
the flow
documentation are used to help that?
Usually the flow down doesn't go from sub to prime, because the prime is the one that's holding the contract, and the controls are coming from the government in the solicitation, in the contract. However, sometimes let's say that I am the prime and you are the sub, and I'm asking you to. So now the information, there is a COI, the control unclassified information that's coming from the government to me, and I'm passing to you. But how about if you are making certain devices that are going to be under COI? They are making them now. You're creating them now. So that's where it comes down to me as a prime. Then you're going to label them as COI. Right. Then when it comes to me as a prime, I have to treat them as a COI, because now the government sees me as the one who created them. They don't know about you. They don't care about you. You are just subcontractors, because I am the one who's responsible. So I have to mark them as a COI and treat it as such.
What about when I'm your sub and you send me data that I need for part of my job, and we're communicating, and you send me things you're not supposed to? So then I go find your security person and report it.
Yeah.
But then it happens again and again. Have you seen things
Yeah.
like that occur?
No, that's what I touched on at the beginning, which is prime contractors, what they are doing, they are flowing down everything to subcontractors, which they shouldn't, because they should flow down only the thing that concerns you, that you're going to be doing. So the right thing to do at that time, to send it back to them. I say, I don't need this information, that doesn't matter to me. That's the way to do it. There's also the contractor officers as well, they are not trained on how to mark the COI. So sometimes they put the whole contract the COI, and there is nothing there is COI. So they're going through this practice now to train the contracting officers as well on how to mark the COI. Because the easiest thing for everyone is mark everything COI and pass it along. You're responsible. But there's nothing to COI. Now, what some companies are doing, or at least a recommendation, for small companies that don't have enough controls to safeguard the information, they create some kind of like a location for them within the prime's network where the COI is going to be, so the subcontractor can go, use it there, and leave it there, never download it. So now the subcontractor is a little bit protected and doesn't have to have the whole infrastructure in place. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
In a scenario in which a primary and a subcontractor, you've got, let's say one primary has several subcontractors and they're isolated to do several tasks. Initially, they were following all the guidelines, controls, but are there any protections in place for the primary company in the event that a sub stops following the the controls that they need to.
The-
But the primary was unaware of that.
That's still their problem. The prime is always the one responsible for the contract. The prime is always on the hook. So the government always look at the prime. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
There would be a contract between subcontractor and contractor, and so those terms would be violated of that portion of the contract, so that the subcontractor would be on the hook.
Well,
Yeah,
subcontractors can be on the hook if you can somehow justify it. But however, the government always look at the prime.
right, agreed. It would actually be against both of them, saying that flow down to the penalties that flow down. The government will hit.
If you flow it
the prime
down,
contractor,
yes.
But the prime contractor is gonna have a contract with the subcontractor, the subcontractor will be a violation of that contract between
Yes.
those two, and they'll make their, you know.
It's going to get reported. But always the prime is going to get the hit. Yes, I understand. But the prime is always the one that's going to get the hit.
They have visibility though through Spears, right? They can see the POAMs and the security plans through the system, the primes can't.
Yes. Well, the
So
primes,
if
what they're
you're
doing
not
now,
following your security
Yeah.
plan, you're not actioning your plan of action,
Mhm.
the prime's gonna know if they're doing their due diligence.
yes, that's before.
Turn your
Yeah,
contract.
yes, that's before the issue happens. So at the beginning, yes, the prime now is requiring or requesting from the subprimes to say, okay, what's your Spurs? What's the score? Your score, for instance, the score of the Spurs. And if they say, okay, our score is 110, so okay, can I take a look at your system security plan? Can I look at them? They can do that because I'm going to give you business. If you want me to give you business, you need to prove to me that you have the right controls in place. So you are going to show me that. Now, so the prime can build certain confidence at the beginning that yes, you are doing the right job, you are safeguarding, you are, but after, that's like what he's talking about, after that, if you say, you know what, oh, no, we already done, our firewall is not working, don't pay attention to it, it's nothing. That's where the issues start happening. So they have to maintain that control all the way.
So is it true in Spurs, in the security plan reporting system today, if you don't have a plan uploaded, you're in violation of DFARS today?
If you don't have a plan right now, if you don't have a score, you're not going to get a contract.
Right.
That's what it is. And but actually, even what they are doing, even if you have a contract and it comes for an option year, the renewal, they go to the Spurs database and look at you. If they see if you have a score, only a score, as I said, they don't care what the score is right now. If they say you have a score, if you have a score, they will renew your contract for your existence as the option year. If you don't have one, they're going to get back to you and say, hey, you don't have a score here, and can you do something about it? If not, we cannot. And it happened to us because we are also government contractors. So it happened to us. They reached out to us. We said, no, it's there, right there. I said, oh, sorry, we looked at the wrong place. But yes, they do. Any more questions? Okay, so let's see if I didn't miss anything I didn't hit on. Okay, so pretty much this are the level 2. There are 110 practices or controls, and there are 14 domains. And as I said, right now there is no requirements to meet all of them at once. There are POAMs. You can have some, you meet some, you don't have to meet some, but there are some that are not POAMable. That means there's some that you have to meet.
Which controls in level 2 do you have to be assessed on?
I don't know them by kind of like I don't memorize them, but which one did you have to, for instance, if you don't have security system plan, you are done from the beginning. There's nothing to talk about. Oops, there is nothing. So this is just integrated accuracy is just questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have any insight into why they didn't just mimic the NIST 805.3 control families? There's only 14 up there. The names are the same, but the ones that are in the 53 that aren't assessed on here, like planning, why did they not include everything?
because right now they're adopting only NIST 800-171. That's the one. And the reason I think why they did it that way is because it's going to be easier to implement it for all other agencies. Like right now, when CMMC 1.0 came out, it has the NIST 800-171 plus CMMC ABA board things that they added. So the DoD came back and saying, no, just 800-171, which means now the VA is looking at it, DHS is looking at it, other agencies are looking at it because now it's mandated by the NIST, which is mandated by the federal government to come up with the technology secure the information. Yes?
Wasn't the 800-171 developed more for commercial, non-federal government
No.
companies?
No.
Because NIST 853 is designed for
It's
those
both.
companies that are very focused on
Well,
federal government.
Just remember, NIST is not for commercial companies. NIST is only is mandated
Yeah,
by
but
the.
the standard was developed to apply to commercial companies.
It is applied to commercial. It can be applied to commercial. That's what they are doing. But really, it was it's designed for federal agencies.
I think the point, I think the takeaway, Brad, correct me if I'm wrong, but NIST guidance is mandatory for federal agencies.
Yes.
It is not, it's guidance for non-federal agencies.
Yes.
But the DFARS are mandatory for everyone in the defense ecosystem.
Exactly.
So they had to write a law that
Yes.
said if you're in the defense industrial base, you have to comply with NIST 800-171.
Correct. Correct. Now, yeah, go ahead.
And so you mentioned 300,000 companies non-compliant, huge security exposure. You're one of the few Reef systems that are certified or authorized for this compliance program.
Yeah, there are 26 companies right now.
26. Huge business opportunity. How hard is it for you to bring people on board and grow that staff to do this work?
Well, right now, most of the companies, there are companies that are engaged. The companies, they see this, it's happening, it's coming. So they are looking at coming to us, how can you help us, give us a proposal, all the stuff. But still, a lot of companies are not taking it seriously. They say, we're going to deal with it when it comes, because there are expenses associated with it. It's not cheap. So small companies are going to say, you know what, I'm not going to spend this much money until this becomes a law. But they are trying to figure out how to get more C3PIOs. As far as I know, since last week, there were only 26 nationwide. We're only like 2 companies here in North Carolina. So it's a process. It's going to take a while.
When that deadline hits, it's going to be a mad rush.
Yeah. Not only that, because also you need assessors. The assessors, and there are not that many of them right now, because the C3PIO is an organization that's going to send assessors to assess the companies. There are not that many. I mean, we're fortunate in our organization. We have one assessor, the one instructor, because all the instructors, they have to be certified and things like that. Yeah, go ahead.
How regularly are these companies going to need to be reassessed? As in, how long?
3 years.
Business opportunity?
Every 3 years.
Okay.
How would you become an assessor? Like, what are you looking for in someone?
Okay, there is if you go to a CMMC, they changed the name now, cyber-ab-ab.org, they have the process. You have to take, there are 2 tests that you have to take. I think you have to CCAA and CCACP. And when you take the test, I don't know why they are doing this, you have to take before you take the test, you have to take a class with a certified organization. It's not like the ISO, you can go study on your own. No, for this one you have to take a class with certain organizations. And then once you pass the class, then you're allowed to take the test.
Does your organization offer those classes, or?
We have instructors, but we don't offer the classes, no. No. But if you go see the cyber-ab.org, you'll find the organizations. Yeah, go ahead.
So years ago, there were rumors that if you didn't meet a certain maturity posture with your assessment, you would get your contract taken from you. You wouldn't be able to get one at all.
Not now, not now.
They're
As I
not
said,
doing
the
that anymore?
right now there is nothing. But I think that when after the rulemaking and when it becomes a law, I think if you don't meet the CMMC requirements, you might not get a contract, or if there is the option year comes and you have to renew the contract, and you don't meet the requirements, you might not get it.
That makes sense. And
But
then
not now.
with other assessments of the same type, the DoD is really moving far into the region of continuous assessment. Do you think they'll do that with this too, long-term? Instead of the 3 years, they'll do continuous?
No, I think it's gonna be the way it is right now, every 3 years.
Okay.
That's what they're saying. Okay. Any more questions? Because we went through this, so just we said, okay, let's share the information with you guys, and there's one thing. When it comes to the assessment, there are 110 clauses that you have to meet. However, there's no assessor who's going to go over 110. It's like a test, a final test you have at the end of the year. You have to study for the whole year. But the questions, I mean, they may go over everything, but they might touch only on a few of something. But in the reality, they're going to touch on 110, but some of them will go deeper on some ones than other ones. And one thing that's this is one thing. From our example, I don't know how much time I have, but from our example, that's for the one we went through. You have to use encryption, and your encryption needs to be FIPS. And a lot of companies, the ones that are going through this provisional thing and certificate, are failing because it needs to be FIPS validated, not FIPS compliant. And people are not making the difference between the two. So it should be FIPS validated. And there is a NIST 800 list that you have to go to, and you can see who's compliant. What we had to do, we were using a firewall, a Cisco firewall, that when we go to the process, it was nowhere in the documentation to say it's FIPS compliant, as validated, nothing. So we had to reach out to because one thing they're doing right now, which is good, is that during this 5 days of thing, you can fix things. Let's say this clause, you didn't pass it, you can work on it overnight or something, make it happen, you justify it next. We had to reach out to the headquarters of Cisco to give us which module are using. Say, we're using this Qualcomm device, this, that, and it is FIPS validated, all the stuff, and we did that. And also it depends on the assessor. There are some assessors that are very much depends on the personality. There is one assessor, we try to convince him with everything. And it's like, he's just stubborn. He's just stubborn. And there are some assessors, okay, I saw it, good, move on. And there are also, one of the issues we've dealt with is like, you have to have the splash page. The splash page, when you turn on your computer, if you are using COI, there is a splash page that shows like some kind of like warning, or you are using a COI device that uses COI, you have to you agree to click on this one. And also you have to have a splash page when you go to the device itself, like when your router or your firewall, you want to go to it, it needs to show splash page as well. For anything that is like that, so it's like, it depends on the assessor, the personality of the assessor, how tough he is, or how he thinks that he is the smartest guys on earth, and you have to basically deal with it. Go ahead.
I might have missed this, but is this kind of like in that 3-year period where it's like a ISO 27001, where an assessor would come in during that 3-year period and kind of look into that and maybe have some caps that they have to?
Yeah, you missed that. No, you're right. It's 3 years period. It's over 3 years period.
Does someone come in during those 3 years, or is it good for that period? Does the assessor have to come in?
Yes. Right now they're doing hybrid because of COVID, things like that. They do some virtual or some, but in our case, they came to our office.
Only a level 2 though, right?
Oh, level 2, yeah, level 2, because level 1 is self-assessment, assessed.